folks, what we are doing today, welcome. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So what we wanted to spend like an hour on kind of this, we touched upon this last time on this concept of a product strategy and what it means and how do we measure it, right? And that's kind of our focus today, right? And I was playing around with a few things. I'm going to try something new today. So I'm using Canva to present. So let's see how that goes, right? So we are a company called Agilists. My name is Vibhu. I work at Accenture. The company is called Agilists. And for the last 4 years or now, we have been trying to, help people. There were all these orthodoxies about Agile, like things that they think and they make up things about Agile, and therefore that doesn't work and this doesn't work. And our goal is to help people unpack those orthodoxies and help accelerate like product mindset in people, so we forget about the process and help people with the product mindset, right? And then we have been this year playing around with a lot of workshops. I know some of you have attended my CSM CSPO. We have an advanced product owner that's now coming up soon, team bootcamp and agile reset, agile leadership, and many more, right? So with that, I'm going to keep moving along. Again, as always, a bit about me. This is me. This is my family. My wife, who's a pharmacist. We're an agile family. Been doing agile and Scrum for many years. This is my wife, pharmacist, and she's an agile product owner of the house. My son, who graduated like just this last week, and my daughter, who was studying in first year. And we have been agiling for like 15 years now as a family, right? So my journey in Agile started in 1998. I've done all flavors of Agile: Scrum, Scrumban, Bad Scrum, Good Scrum, many kinds of things. And I currently work at Accenture in my week, and I also love teaching. I'm a CST, and I teach in the weekends and whenever I can in the evenings, and many of you know that as well. So what are we talking about today, right? So the topic we want to delve a little bit is about when we say product strategy, and I'm going to move a little bit here and there, right? So what do we mean? And then I'll hand over to Anastasia to kind of go deeper into a specific area. But I want to kick off with the discussion first, right? So around product strategy, right? So hopefully you can see this. So this is, let's take an example of a customer and how Agile typically works in most companies, right? So you'll have a high energy Agile team, a Scrum team, which is hiding behind some backlog, right? And they are trying to build stuff. Okay. So here is a fantastic team. The best of the best class engineers are out here, and they are trying to, yeah, there you go. So they're trying to pull stuff from this backlog, and they're really, their intent is to do all good things, and that's kind of what they plan to do, right? And here is we have a couple of different kinds of customers. So this is me in a, let's say, airline website, right? I was last week traveling somewhere, and as a customer, we have issues, right? And something happened last week in an airport, and I was so upset I couldn't board the plane. The plane was in the airport, and I just couldn't board the plane. And I was like fighting with them, saying the plane is there, it's delayed. And she's like, no, the time is over, time is over, time is over, right? So me and my daughter were stuck in Tucson airport. So I went within minutes from a happy customer to an upset customer after a beautiful day in a resort in Tucson. And we were like, oh my God, this is the worst day ever, right? So we had to Uber to an airport far away to get our stuff going, right? So what happens in these situations is, in most companies, what will happen is probably I called up the Delta Airlines customer service, they said, go to complaints.delta.com and make a registration, right? So I'm sure I immediately went and wrote like my backlog item there. I wrote like how I was upset and why they should fix this issue, and right. So in most companies, you have these product managers or like different groups of people who then the customer, whatever they say, gets told to them, right? And that takes a little bit of time. And then from there, I'm sure that they passed on hopefully to some further people down the chain, and you kind of get the point, right? So this then goes on to the next group, which could be the product managers are telling like, some design group saying this problem is happening, and it's still like, probably, 2 months down the time where I actually had the problem in the airport. And then, from there, we actually see that the excited product owner, Pat is a product owner for this amazing team. She is told about this problem, but by the time it comes to her, this is like the Chinese whisper game, right? Something, whatever actual problem gets translated to something completely different, right? So we end up with, she does her best, puts something in the backlog for the team to work on, but the team is like, they don't really know, they don't really know much about what the real problem was, what the problem Vibhu faced in the airport that day. This team has no clue, right? So we hired high energy teams back here in this area, right? So when this is how most companies work today, even after, like, so when you think about every company will have product, design, engineering, and operations. These are kind of classic four parts of an organization. Um, so value identified was a super upset customer shouting and like crying literally in the airport. So value delivered is, did we actually fix the problem, right? So that is a time called lead time for customer value, right? What's the time that it takes for delivering customer value? But to do that, many companies have a dance like this. So you'll often go like design, engineering, operations, right? So what is the shift happening in the industry? You may have heard of a concept called continuous delivery, right? So what continuous delivery is, this Scrum team says, "Ooh, we got this awesome requirement. We are going to now continuously ship this product to production." So they have all kinds of DevOps and awesome things once it hits the backlog. But by the time it goes from here to here, it's like 4 or 5 months. But then the organization wants continuous delivery, all this stuff. But we are optimizing only one part of the organizational flow, right? We're not really optimizing the whole. We're only optimizing a part of that, right? So what has been happening in the industry is this concept called shift left, right? So shift left means, can we make this shift more further to go to something called continuous discovery, right? Instead of continuous delivery. To make it simple, right? Can we make this team here, directly, can I take this team here and it's locked, can I take this team and make them directly work with the customer, right? So if you think about it, right, instead of going through all this translation, how can I move this team closer to the customer, right? So that is what we call as product team. So companies like Best Buy, Alaska Airlines, they're all now starting to focus on product teams, right? So which are customer-centric teams focused on delivering value, right? So how does product strategy? So what the whole idea is, instead of just continuous delivery, can we do something called continuous discovery as well, right? So we can do continuous discovery, and that way we are constantly, so it becomes a loop, right? Continuous discovery instead of doing this sequential work to backlog and then and then delivering it in a more agile fashion, right? So discovery, right? So how do we do that? So how does strategy fit in all of this, right? So and so let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, so here is a typical now you may have heard all these words, right, in agile, right? Release plan, product vision, business strategy, product strategy, roadmap, sprint plan. Okay, so tell me what comes first here. Like if you were to arrange it in a sequence, give me like the first one here. What's the first one in here? Let's play a little game here. So let's go to, and Joseph, you pick the first one, and then you hand over to someone to add the second one. What would you pick in the, what comes?
So you're asking what comes first in the life cycle, basically?
Yeah.
Realistically, or what should come first?
What should come first? Yeah.
I would argue we should probably start with a vision.
Okay.
Strategy. Yeah.
Okay, then what else? Anyone else wants to add something after that?
Business strategy.
Business strategy. Okay, what else comes after that?
Roadmap.
Okay.
Product strategy.
Product strategy.
Sprint plan and release plan.
Sprint plan, like that? No? Right, so some sequence like that, right? So now, and there's no, I'm not saying this is the right or wrong answer. Generally, we have all this flow, right? Because we have a workflow like this, in companies, we'll end up having something like this. So generally, the flow is, you'll have a business strategy, the company's business strategy, which drives a product vision, okay? The product vision, then you need to tie the So this is more tactical on the right side. So the product strategy ties the product roadmap with the product vision and sprint plan. So it kind of becomes the glue in the center. So the product strategy is your kind of what ties the things together, right? So this is the glue between strategy and tactics, and so that you think of strategy, it kind of ties the vision of the product with the I mean, there's nothing wrong putting it up here and putting the product vision down as well, right? So when we think of product strategy, we think about like two elements of product strategy, right? And then there's probably many descriptions to that, but I kind of think about two things here. When we think of product strategy, we think of value to customer, right? Are we delivering value to customer with this product? And are we delivering value to the company with this product, right? And also it depends on where we are on a product innovation curve. So if this is the product curve, okay? So this is kind of early product. This is like late phase when the product dies, okay? So if you think of iPhone, so for example, iPhone is somewhere here in the adoption phase. If you think of Chat GPT, everybody is talking about Chat GPT these days, right? It's probably very early phase here, okay, Chat GPT, okay? Now, if you think about, I don't know, tell me something that's like gone, it's no more valid anymore, it's not relevant anymore. Give me an example of a product not relevant anymore, right? So, what will be
Compact
that?
discs.
Which one is it?
Compact discs.
Oh yeah, CD player, CD. Compact disc is gone, right? So you're hopefully not going to be a product manager or product owner for a compact disc company anymore, right? So when you think about product strategy, the other thing to think about is where in this line, and in every company, there are products in all these areas, okay? So you need to think about where you are in this line, where, and then the value to customer, value to company can vary depending on where the product lies in this curve, okay? So very early on, we tend to deliver more value to customer, but at some point we need to have value to company as well coming along. Otherwise, we can't scale the product. If all we are doing is value to customer, we can't make money, and soon the products die. That's why many products will never make to life. They just die here because people just keep adding more and more customer value without thinking about how to deliver value to company, right? So how do we know we have, what are an elements of effective product strategy, right? So how do we know that we have an effective product strategy? It brings three things together, 1, 2, 3, right? First is it brings the views of the customer, right? So whatever the views of the customer are there, those are clearly articulated in the product strategy. And I'm not going to go into the details of how to build a strategy. It also brings common understanding between different parts of the company, like sales, marketing, legal. All their views are also brought into this product strategy. Okay, and also it helps the product owner articulate to delivery teams how the strategy is going to help them get to the product vision, right? So that's the roadmap that Pat here prepares, right? So the roadmap that she'll work on, that is another element of a good product strategy. So five different, so when you think of metrics, I'm sure there's millions of metrics. So we're going to today talk about, so in a few minutes, Anastasia is going to go into like deeper into value to customer with the presentation of like how do you measure value to customer. But at a high level, I want to introduce like 5 metrics that we talk about. Okay, so customer metrics, so that financial metrics, product metrics, people and process metrics, and discovery metrics. Discovery metrics means how do we know this is the right problem that we are solving for the customer? Okay, now there could be various examples of these metrics, but for example, for financial metrics, it could simply be revenue, right? So revenue could be a financial metric. So then customer metric could be like, for example, customer status, and we're going to go more into that, so I'm not going to go into that here. Customer satisfaction depends, and there could be more there. From a product metrics, it could be product quality, and so on and so forth, right? So there is team motivation. So you can probably break this into many different ways, right? These things. So I'm not going to go into the details of examples of this, but we're going to give you one example, a deep dive in a few minutes. Okay, so one, and I kind of want to set up the next session with this thing, right? So if when you're working on a continuous discovery mode, one of the models that's become super popular, and you want to measure all these metrics, how does it work? Is this concept called as a Mobius loop. So we look up Mobius Loop. It's somebody I know, Gabriel Benefeld and Ryan Shriver. They have been working on this concept. It's kind of a board that helps you think through this loop in a fast fashion. So on this side, this is the continuous discovery delivery loop, right? And it helps you drive the strategy in a very fast fashion. So on this side is why and who, right? Why are we doing this? Who are we doing this for? And then it kind of, you flow this, go like this, right? Then we say, well, what outcomes do we want? What outcomes do we want? For example, we can say, well, the problem we want to solve is, a lot of, problem is a lot of food is wasted in the restaurants. And we can solve city hunger by not wasting that food. Outcomes we want to see is, can we deliver some food from 5 restaurants in Seattle to 10 homeless people in Seattle on the same day? And it's kind of a very tactical thing, right? What options do we have? Well, options we have are, we need to find who are all the homeless people in Seattle, where is all the food available in Seattle, and how do we match them up? Those are the options. We could walk to them, we could find an Uber ride, we could go deliver it to the local charities in Seattle, right? Those are the, how do we do this? Well, let's make it happen, right? So, and then we measure it. For the measurement piece is what we'll use one of these 5 metrics, okay? And there could be more. And then we measure and learn and work through that. So that's called as the Mobius loop. Why, outcome. We pick a couple of options, pick one, deliver it, learn from it, and then go on do it. So this is kind of on the lean startup technique, but it builds on this loop again and again and again, okay? So again, to product strategy, right? Think about value to customer, value to company, and are we doing both? And depends on where the product is, we may have different things coming along.